And hello again, this is another quick tutorial on now actually combining two parts. We've seen a couple of tutorials recently on Magic Pink and layer blending, and then we've also seen some tutorials on advanced cloud modeling with the particle modeler. And I thought it would be an interesting experiment to kind of bring both together. Now you might ask yourself, well, how is this bringing both together? How do we have Magic Pink in here? This little animated cloud that actually kind of looks more like a galaxy. Well, it actually is rendered not against a black background, it is rendered against a pink background. As you see here in this animation, this is the extent of my animation, and I also stored it so you can see the color of the background is pink. And I did that on purpose so that I could actually use it then in Magic Pink blending mode. So for instance, I could now go back to the lower layer, which is black. The upper layer is containing this animation, and it is in Magic Pink mode. So you can see if I put something different in this background, such as, for instance, if I render something into it, I don't know, let's go back to that brick texture, or what was it, a grid of some sort we had earlier in another tutorial. We could put that there, right? And we could go change some of the parameters there, and perhaps even add some lighting to that. Let's go filter, artistic, or rather stylize lighting tool, and move the light source here. Maybe put one light there that's a kind of a bluish tint, something like this, and or teal color, and have that just around there, perhaps a little bit lower, perhaps a little bit not so strong, just to do a little bit of I don't know what we want to do with that anyway, a little bit of grid with embossing or some interesting looking lighting there. And so while we have this is just a static image, a single image in the lower layer, the base layer, right? We can hide it and it's gone. The clouds though is still there. The animation of the clouds is still there, right? You can barely see it. This one here, oh, what did I just do? Let's go and undo this. Undo, get my grid back. Or not. Okay, well, let's just, maybe I erased it or something. Here is our animation, here is our layer 0, and what I'll do is I'll erase this to black. There you go. Get back to that. Let's go back to render as, what was it, grid, and it remembers much of the parameters we had last time. Let's go, let's not be picky here, and put that there, and multiply, something like that. Yeah, this is good enough. Alright, let's go store this image, because we might need to get back to that in case we accidentally misplace it or erase it. There it is, there's a stored copy. And so we have the animation in the foreground though. That's this one here. So let's animate that one, right? Oh, there is one that's modified, is it? Or not? No, looks good. There is one. Yeah, there's one. Alright, so this one I must have, that's where I must have placed the other one when I switched layers here. Alright, so you know what, we'll just delete this one. Boom. Alright, who's gonna see the difference here anyway? So we have this layer here. This is where the animation happens, and if we play this, you see this play nicely color blended with Magic Pink. You don't see any pink overtones here or any sort of pink colors, but the pink is used to indicate in this layer how transparent the pixels are. And the more it's pink, the more it's transparent, and the more it's white, the less it's pink, and the more it gets to show its true galaxy color. So that's one thing you can do. Now, of course, you may want to blend this together, right? Flatten this. And that's a different story. So if you wanted to combine one animation over this layer that's the background here, and that layer is not animated, right? Then you would want to use a different technique for that. Now let's just double check that, right? And then I'll show you what I think the right approach is to do that. What we can double check is that, well, what if we just flatten all this, right? So we'll go here and flatten the image, everything Well, the thing is, it does that, but just on this one frame, right? Because again, not all of these layers are animated. There's only one sequence of animation, and then there is nothing else on the other one to animate through. So that technique is not going to work to just flatten the whole image and expect it to flatten the images of each frame in a parallel way. But we have a workaround for that, and I'd like to show you that. So we have this image, and we have this animation. Right. So this animation is good. It's got the full pink background, and we've just reloaded it here. But this one here is just a single image. And what we'll do is we'll create an animation of the same duration. So the previous one here had 90 frames. Okay, so let's go and recreate, excuse me, here under animation, create 90 frames with this current image there. Alright, so we have 90 frames here, and just so we visualize that, we can go and store that. Store to disk an animation of 90 frames. And this might work a little bit faster on your PC, especially if you have an SSD drive. And so we have one animation with this background that is notoriously stable and inert and not moving much. And then we have an animation here with the galactic motion. And what it'd like to do is combine one with the other through the Magic Pink blending mode. Well, so what we can do is we can say, well, let's put this one here in the background, or what we call the swap image, and let's put this one here as the current image as the full animation. Right now, as we scrub through that, it's actually pulling the images or the frames from this background, from this swap animation as well. And if you want to switch back and forth between the two, you can see it. You can see the main or the swap image. Or you can blend them, the two together. But now you need to change the blending mode, right? Instead of blending, the default mode is that's the same as multiply. Instead of that, you need to choose Magic Pink. Now you have the front animation, that's the one with the pink background, blended against the back animation, which is this stored copy of the swap that goes into the swap. And so the two together are now being blended perfectly. That you can flatten, and you do that right here at the main and swap image level. You go here and say merge with swap, so that basically flattens the two together according to this layer mode. Right, merge this, and so all of the frames are being merged together. One frame from the main animation with the corresponding frame from the swap animation, and so in the end you get this perfect blending of two animations. I mean, this one in the background didn't look like very animated, but it could have been, right? It could be an animation in itself. In fact, let's do that. Let's see what we could do to make it look like even more interesting. So what we'll do is create a totally different animation. We'll go to animated Starry Night, and this one is simply, let's do preview full screen. You can see the stars just like flying towards you. Right, then maybe we'll give it a little bit more of those. Perhaps, oh, that's the star count. That's the star size. Let's do we want atmosphere? No, no atmosphere. Let's do nova and flare. Let's do add lens flares. This is going to slow down a little bit, so I'm going to change the setting here for something that doesn't take too much time. It still looks really interesting. I like the blue for that. Yeah, no red. Let's go blue. Maybe this one? Yeah, too many reflections. Let's go with that. Alright, so we've got a couple of stars. If we want more of them, like one in so many is fewer of them, one in so few is more of them. Essentially have a nice little animation like we're flying through hyperspace here and into the galaxy. And so we have some clouds, some stars nearby that are whisking by us, and we might actually want to go faster, so you can change the speed here. There is a star size, there is the softness, and so on. There's the vector XYZ. There's a speed vector here, right? So this makes you fly into that a little bit faster. And so what we'll do is we'll go something like that and OK that, so this renders it into our new animation. And we can go and store that one, just like we did the others. Store to disk. And so now we can basically decommission this one. This one's so passé now, right? Let's go close this one. Let's go see here. We have this animation. Let's make this one our animated swap. And then we can, okay, we'll think about it. And then here we have this animation. Let's replace it with this one. Let's put this one back in with the galaxy. Okay. And again, if we blend them together, we make sure we blend them not in multiply mode, but in magic pink mode. Right, so now we have the animation from the background, and we have the animation from the foreground galaxy. Those two we can blend easily together right here. Here, merge with swap. Now that's not the only way that we can create this effect of blending or combining two animations together. Right? There are other places. There's the filters, and there is a thing here called combine with swap, where you can do something similar, but it does not have those new modes like the blue screen combination or especially the magic pink. It does not have that. So there's a couple of other modes here, but not the ones that we would want to use for this particular effect. There is a composite here, and that one is either against green screen or blue screen or any color. But that one is a composite against image sequences from files. Now that's a really important one to remember too. You do have, sometimes you do have that need to combine your existing animation and composite it against another one that's coming from an image sequence, from a file sequence. So when you have a color key here, you'll go and select a file. When you click animate, it's going to ask you for a file to pick or something like that. So we'll do that. I think we may have done this in a separate tutorial. But I just wanted to point that out. There's a bunch of different places where you'll see the ability to create something like this, and I think this tutorial is long enough, so we'll just call it a day. And maybe one more thing we could do is just slow it down a little bit, or just make it looping. Maybe we don't need this part where it's initially rotating around like this, only just from here. Right, and then we'll just keep it going like this, and we cut out the portion where it's stopping. So here, when the central part has stopped rotating just around here, that's gonna go. It's gonna have to go. So let's go make an in marker here, go to the end, make the out marker, and then right click to delete that range, delete the block. So we have a couple of frames that are missing now. We are now no longer seeing the parts that were stopping the movement, but we still have them at the beginning. This part here we need to get rid of as well. So maybe from about here, when the twisting is done. From here, that will be the end of the segment, and here the beginning of the segment, again, that we need to delete. And let's go do that, delete block. So now we essentially have an animation just like that. Now there's a little bit of a jump here. You can see the last frame doesn't match with the first frame. That's not surprising. We didn't try to make it match. But what you can do is actually blend the two together so that they kind of create a looping animation. You can do a, what is it? There, make loopable. And you can say, let's sacrifice half of the frames at the beginning and overlap them to the end. So you kind of have a continuous movement. This one's only 17 frames, so it's very fast. It's not very usable, but it shows the concept. And what you can certainly do is just extend it with the time, motion estimated interpolation. You could go to animated motion prediction module, do a dry run of that. Right? If you experiment with it the first time, I'm not quite sure yet. We might want to go a little bit farther to looking for moving parts. We might want to reduce the fudge factor so it's looking a little bit harder to find matching elements, and then see yeah, there's a couple of places where there's just too much movement, and the motion prediction really cannot follow there or guarantee that analysis to be successful. Sometimes it helps to go a little bit farther. Sometimes we need to have some samples here, stochastics too, but all that takes time, and who has time? Well, we sometimes do. So this one's not a really good example. We're going to stop this one here and go back to sample 1 and see perhaps if we simply want to have, let's use a default or something close enough to that. some weird ripple shock waves going through this. Let's give it more. Let's give it like 17. Let's see how many frames that'll be. 256. That's not a problem. We can do that. Alright, let's go do that. Let's go uncheck the dry run and go. And so now we have a short animation of just 17 frames, turning into a significantly longer animation of about 200 and something. Like usual, when we use the motion prediction module, the very last frame is the same as the very first. So we need to actually delete the very first. And then we can see this as an animation that will probably still be somewhat loopable. Perhaps we need to, in fact, now go back the other way, time stretch it in negative, right? Go say half of that. Or actually not time stretch it, but rather, again, make it loopable. Right click on that and say make loopable. Toss about half of the frames. And so that way we get a nice continuation of the galaxy turning on itself. And now we have actually probably twice the number of galactic arms. And so here we have just a really interesting quick animation that is created. And there's always more we can do. There's always more. We could go to photographic soft contrast improvement. That sometimes creates some really interesting results too. Not in this case, but give it a try nonetheless. You also may want to try to adjust curves to change the contrast, right? Do a little bit of adjusting here of how many of these faint stars you see versus the bright stars, or totally remap it. I mean, you can do some really fancy stuff with that too. Look at that. And so here we go. I'll leave you with that right now. Just lots of little things to experiment with and create. And perhaps just one more. I just can't stop. I'm gonna go with the fisheye effect here. And this looks a little bit like some sort of an eye looking at me here. So I'm gonna create a little bit of a spherical distortion. And let's see. Something like this. Animate that. And alright, so that's enough for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.